Well, good morning. I'm thrilled to be here. And I've met many of you around the world, but not necessarily here in Scotland. We have a weird little box over here, which is somewhat disturbing, so we're going to pretend that's not there. Can you all hear me? I've been asked to speak in my best American outside voice, so if you can't hear me, let me know. I'm going to talk about empathic design, about designing for real people, real needs, real solutions, and empathy is critical to that. I'm based in Illinois, so many people are disappointed when they find out I'm from Manchester. They think I'm going to be more exotic. But something very significant is that I'm the chair of industrial design, but I'm also very present within the scientific engineering community. And because design thinking is becoming a real hot area, it's seen to support business and engineering. So moving on, I have other titles. Help. Okay, we're frozen. Yay. Okay, so as I say, we're talking about identifying real problems that affect real people. And one of the key messages today, the reason I'm here, is because if you develop technology without your focus being human, you're going to end up with products, and I'm going to cover this, that lead to abandonment, underuse, misuse, misunderstood products. So really, you can't develop a technology and then go seeking a use of it. In design, we're very keen on identifying a problem, then you generate the possible solution. Very simple approach, but people trip up. So if you develop something without looking at users, without looking at functional needs and what I call super-functional needs, the emotional, the cultural, the social, once that's put in front of them, this new technology, the psychological barriers can develop, and you have one shot at exposing them to a new technology. And again, this leads to a whole load of issues. They can, if you've all got unwanted Christmas presents in your wardrobe, you kind of understand what I'm saying. It sounds great. It's like the Wii Fit or the exercise bicycle. It feels great at the time of purchase, but are you actually going to use it afterwards? So can we all agree to agree that the medical model of disability, and I'm using that very widely to include obesity, everything under this big umbrella of anything that is seen to make a person's life more challenging, isn't appropriate. It's a social model that we pursue in design. This was a photograph I took in California, and it resonated with me because I am an empathic design research strategist, which means you can't study users with a white coat on, even though I have a white coat. You have to get close to them, so you become to share a language, share understanding, and the outcomes become more intuitive. So this is just taking a few products out of my drawer, out of the bathroom, and this could be anything: toothpaste, sun cream, hemorrhoid cream, because apparently models use it under their eyes. But as you look at these, they're all packaged the same way. So regardless of any ability or disability, if they're not facing you, you can easily pick up the wrong ointment. You could put hemorrhoid cream on your toothbrush, for example. And people have died by taking the wrong medicine. Not hemorrhoid cream, I hope. So disability impacts more people than ever, and it's on the increase. But for us, disability is no longer perceived to be a barrier to a good quality of life. It is paramount. Health and well-being is not the absence of disease or disability. It's holistic. It's the body, it's the mind, it's how you're perceived in your community. Excuse me. So for many of us, disability can develop gradually. If I'm stood next to somebody with a hearing aid, they're perceived to have a disability where I have an assistive technology on my face, but this has transcended barriers and it's now seen as a fashion item. And in the States, 1/3 of all glassware have no prescription in them. So I know for a fact that our legal students on our campus are told to go out and buy glasses to look more intelligent and to look more mature. That is not the reason I'm wearing them today. I am truly aging. And aging is interesting. I get my students to tell me what middle-aged is. And when they say 30, then I kind of stop in my tracks and think, wow, this is their perception of what old age is. And anybody around 60, 65 is seen as decrepit. Their words, not mine. And that is very powerful because we have to change this approach to how they perceive users, how they perceive disabilities, because that's going to impact how they design. So this is my perception of aging. This is my goal for when I'm 80. All of you may have a different image in sight of yourself, but gin and cigars, that's my future. So we all have different views of what aging looks like. And we gradually adapt and adjust. So with everyday activities, they become so mundane to us that they become invisible. And as an empathic design researcher, we have to uncover what is invisible to the user, because if it takes them 20 minutes to brush their teeth, that might be their norm. But as designers, we see a disconnect. How can we help them do this task more effectively, more smoothly? So it's really about uncovering what isn't that obvious to the user themselves. And if our products that we surround ourselves, if the environment that we fill isn't empowering us, it's probably stripping us of dignity. And I'm sure all of this is absolutely common to you all. But have you ever pushed a door and it's meant to be pulled and we feel stupid? It's bad design. That is not acceptable on any level anymore. So good design should be seamless, almost invisible, and you get through your day and you have your little happy moments, especially when the coffee arrives. That's about empowerment. There is a normality of doing things differently. Have you ever watched anybody fasten their shoelaces, or for women putting makeup on? We all think we do it the normal way, but by watching others. Have you ever had an argument which goes in first, the milk or the coffee? Or how long do you have your tea bag soaking? And the Americans don't put normally milk in tea, and that's my life's goal, to make sure they drink tea properly. So we all assume we are normal. That's kind of a scary thought, because I don't think normality is that attractive. The only way to experience is to experience it. It's a lovely quote from a book from a chap, and his name's escaped me, but I can easily find it for you. It's about design, where design meets disability. And this is a lovely, simple quote. If you're designing for somebody, try to experience a day in the life of. And it's about human-centered design. Even if you're designing for animals, empathic design research. Have you ever heard of Temple Grandin? She had autism, and she designed she's from our campus. She designed how cattle go through the abattoir to be killed to reduce stress. So this goes beyond just somebody who speaks your language. So this is, again, we have a little block there. This is, I've speeded this up for you, the empathic horizon. So when you're born, most of you, are there any twins in the room? No? Okay, I shared a womb, people. I know how to share. So there are 2 of us in the womb. We had to navigate, push around, get some space. But then as you develop, again, go back to this, we all think we're normal. Our education, our background, our families, you know, where we were brought up, it all makes us who we are, and we all perceive each other through that lens. So I just assumed everybody was born in Manchester when I was growing up. But when you design for others outside your circle, your empathic horizon, then you've really got to push outside your comfort zone to gain an awareness. And over time, that empathic horizon becomes more fluid and more flexible. And it's the ability to say, you and I look very similar. However, I need to get closer to you so I can design more intuitively. Even with my twin, who we share the same food, the same teachers, there's no way even now I could design for her without going through some empathic design research. So empathic modeling is one tool. I do a lot of this with my students of all levels, and what we're looking for is a disconnect between the everyday experience, between tasks, activities, and aspirations. And when there's a gulf, there's a huge gap, that's a product opportunity. So remember, we're not chasing a technology to fill a gap, we're identifying disconnects. So this is a wonderful image I took of our disability expert, Brian, and he has no vision. And there are only 10% of the population in the States with visual impairment, and with no vision, it makes him even rarer. So he's reading up here Braille. Now, Braille in the States is a legal requirement in public buildings. So this institute is actually complying with the law. Let me give you the bigger picture. That's where the sign is. So complying with the law and following rules, tick, tick, tick. However, I had to move furniture. He's 5'2", bless him. He's the only one in the building that could read the Braille, and I had to point out to him where the Braille was because he had no vision. That's a disconnect, and those disconnects are everywhere, and it's about seeing them. We're so familiar excuse me, with challenges, we don't see the most obvious ones or the most compelling. So when you're talking to users, we say one thing, we do another, and we possibly feel something else. So if I was to ask you who in the room is having an extramarital affair, I wouldn't expect you all to put your hands up enthusiastically. Equally, if I said who does not recycle, there's peer pressure. So equally, if you're talking to somebody about urinary incontinence, which I did a lot of work in, you've got to realize they're going to say one thing. They might be feeling really awkward. And really what you're going to try and do is figure out what they do in a day-to-day. That takes time, trust, shared language, and also it takes a real sensitivity. And in my studies, I realized that not everybody feels empathy, and that was a shock to me. Sociopaths, etc., can mirror empathy, but can they actually feel it? And apparently 1 in 100 people are psychopaths. Throwing it out there, people. So here's an example, and I don't always use myself, but I don't want to embarrass others. It's easier to embarrass myself. I'm outside the Illinois Simulation Lab. It's high technology, virtual environments, high tech. And I'm there with my laptop, and I've got an iPod when they'd first come out, and I'm figuring out if I'm available for a meeting. This was one viewpoint. However, what was really going on? Post-it notes. So this piece of technology was being used not in the way intended by the designer of the product. So you know I told you before about misuse, underuse, and abandonment. So this is me not having time to figure out how to put this in the machine. I'm finding a low technology approach being more effective for me at that moment in time. This is a disconnect. It doesn't mean I'm low technology. It just means the technology wasn't meeting a need. I run a course called Disability and Relevant Design. And what this does on our campus, have any of you been to Illinois? It's as flat as a pancake. We have 60 to 80 wheelchair users. We have 1,100 students registered with disabilities. So this is my TA, Lawanda, and I have students in my class. What we do is we use people with different lived experiences to feed innovation and the design process. And this is me doing some empathic modeling with my collaborator, Joyce Thomas. this is walking blind. And this, I'm being taught to walk blind at the Dallas Lighthouse for the blind, actually in Texas. If any of you have tried it, it's so difficult to walk straight. Anybody who uses a white stick with no vision, they're rock stars. It's really difficult. And then what I do with the course, I bring in Carl Lewis, who was instrumental in putting together the Americans with Disabilities Act, polio survivor, Brad Hedrick, polio survivor, who's now experienced post-polio syndrome. So their bodies compensated all their lives, and now Brad spends half his time in a wheelchair. So I bring in experts on campus to help with my course. The course aims at bringing people with disabilities into the design studio. So we don't only design for, we don't only design with, but they're designing for themselves. It's more empowering. It's more appropriate. And then we limit, these are retinitis pigmentosa goggles, and we're restricting vision. This course, we can design a number of things, and empathic modeling doesn't throw you into the life of a person. What it does is sensitize you. If you remove one of your senses, it's amazing how much longer everything takes to do task-wise. So this is what my classroom can look like. I have Sheila, who's legally blind with the guide dog. I have Jade with severe cerebral palsy that can only speak for 18 seconds without real tiredness. And then we have Kushal. And when I put Kushal, this is Sheila and I working away. Sheila was actually in Ireland presenting some work at a product conference. And one of the sad things is the dog had to be retired. So Sheila lost her eyes basically when the dog retired. This is Kushal. And when I put, these are drunken goggles. They simulate drunkenness, daytime and nighttime. And his response to me was, am I not disabled enough? And it's like, no, if you're going to design for somebody, you have to experience somebody else's experience. And then these are quick and dirty approaches. So what I want when designers are out there, they can actually simulate various disabilities without having to buy super duper aging suits from MIT or wherever. It's rough and it's dirty and it gets the job done. And this is an interesting photograph. You'll see Sheila on the far left, incredibly happy because everybody else is now experiencing the life as she feels it. One of the people missing from this photograph had hearing problems. When we put goggles on her, it was overwhelming and there was a mini meltdown. So when you're doing empathic modeling, you've got to be careful. I had a meltdown last week when I had students to divide up into males and females, and I had a student that did not relate to either categories. So again, you've got to be very careful when you're dealing with anybody. I'm always surprised. So low technology, this is a very quick example. This won a national award. We presented it on display at the Smithsonian Institution. This is, he's now an attorney in Chicago or Washington. And what happens is when he needed to make a phone call or use a computer, somebody would have to come in and put this evil device on his head. So one of my students just got a Perspex rod, used a chin guard from American football helmet. So all he has to do, Jonathan just has to do that with his neck. And so he can actually, for the first time in his life, make a personal phone call. So this is low technology. And so high technology is great, but let's start low and build up. And this is Stephen Diebold. And he did this in his first semester, what they call sophomore year, the first year of his degree with me. And so anybody can approach this. I did some empathic modeling with medical experts in Malaysia in December. These are medical doctors who are immersed in disability and illness and disease, and they'd actually never done any empathic modeling to do with vision. It was very revealing and very humbling to see them do this. I'm trying to shape the minds of business students and technology students, engineering students. They're a tough nut to crack, but it's amazing when you take one of their senses away, suddenly their sensitivity is heightened. They love the drunken goggles because you can't drink in the States until you're 21, apparently. Interdisciplinary research is critical when you're doing this kind of work. You can't do it on your own. And so we're talking about transforming a lived experience into a transferable knowledge that other people can benefit from. And remember, we're not scientists here. We're not creating generalizable data and information. This is all translational. We're looking at the otoscope, and so I have at the Beckman, where the engineers and technologists come up with a medieval torture device, and then you say you want to put that where, and then they say, well, make it look good. And so we're getting the scientific community to realize that designers can translate products that are more acceptable as they're coming towards the body. This is the same group of people that wanted to create an otoscope that would go in all your orifices. So imagine, they wanted one handheld device that would go into your mouth, into your ear. Yeah, that expression right there is what I said. So design thinkers are the people that sit around the table and go, are you real? You're not putting that in my mouth once you've had it all over the rest of my body. So sometimes with a voice of reason. So I'm looking at the bathroom of the future. I'm dealing with the head of psychology, the head of medicine informatics, bioengineering, and I'm in industrial design. We're trying to satisfy needs beyond the functional. So we have a whole team of students at the moment, and to get American students to say feces and urine is huge, because they don't talk about toilets, unlike us Europeans who, we grab the moment to talk about it. And this is interesting. In America, they're a country of scrunches when it comes to toilet paper. We tend to be folders and wrappers, wrap around the hand and fold. They're scrunches. Again, I don't know what you're going to do with the information, but maybe over a beer you'll share that with the world. So we have to satisfy needs beyond the functional. Just because it's technologically wonderful does not mean it's going to be received. It does not mean they're going to feel that it's designed for them. It has to be personal. This, I often say, what do you see here? And people say clouds. But we have Megan's Strickfaden here. It's a forehead. This is taken by somebody with no vision. He heard her taking photographs. He got his own camera. And now he has his own photographic exhibitions, and he has no vision. So think about this. Here's a technology that we have to design for in the future for people that can't see. These are unexpected users that are emerging. So a blind person is now using a camera and having exhibitions. It kind of blows my mind that we have to anticipate an emerging market like this. And then we only found out that Jihei actually has a phenomenal range of high heels. This girl will never walk in her life. It was medicine poisoning. And so her heels mean an awful lot to her. And you don't realize that until you get into her authentic environment, such as a home. And she would have shrines. Do you understand how important this is? She's not going to say this because this is her mundane, but only by exploring and being very sensitive to her do you realize this is who she is. When you get a disability, and I'm pulling into this aging as well, your gender, your sex is diminished. Suddenly you become a person with a disability rather than a female or a male. And so this is her clinging on to sexuality. I am throwing so much at you. I hope some of this is sticking, and I'm trying to get it in quickly. Are we okay, Julian? So what we thought then, well, let's scan some feet. Let's design some shoes that really push fashion. Let's imagine shoes that could clip onto the foot plate for people in wheelchairs, because if they damage their feet and they can't feel their feet, then that could kill them. you know, with gangrene and all sorts of other issues, and if they have a leg spasm, etc. So then we started exploring. We want to lead the fashion rather than have stigmatized products in the marketplace. Because trust me, if any of us could end up in a wheelchair in 24 hours, and I am not wearing those horrible clothes and shoes and things that are out there, they're disgusting. So this is really an insurance policy for me in the future. And so again, we're exploring, we've done some scanning of feet, and we're trying to push this further. So this was an experience at O'Hare. Quickly going through this, empathic modelling, my walking sticks in my bag because I couldn't hold the coffee, searching away, I've got my retinitis pigmentosa goggles on, picking up some oatmeal at McDonald's. There's a cart going past me making a ton of noise, and I just kind of have to stand there while it passes. That is a truly sad face, but that's how I felt, waiting for the plane. And when I got on the plane, when I was getting on the plane, I handed my ticket over, and then the ticket was given back to my colleague I was traveling to. So even within a second, I realized suddenly I wasn't an adult anymore, and I clearly wasn't capable of accepting my ticket back. And then I'm on the plane trying to get into packaging and eat my oatmeal, and then I get off the plane, and then we have a huge number of people with retinitis pigmentosa. So simple activities can lead to immediate personal growth for designers, such as empathic modelling. And eliciting and utilising these experiences have really enhanced design outcomes. They're more intuitive, the technology is presented in a way that's more personal, and every moment that you see in your day-to-day that's frustrating is a moment to seize, because it's a moment to improve what's here right now. And the beauty of that is there are many moments, many opportunities for designers, and using empathy as the vehicle has been very effective. So let's identify problems, not solutions. Let's seek intuitive design outcomes, and the user is central to the process. And that's my email address, but just because I know that we're textile and fashion people here, this is one shot of some, this is a reversible dress. It can be worn front and back, and these are just some shopping bags. That's my homage to fashion. And then here's some shoes made out of paper, the kind of paper you've got on your table. And I make students make shoes in paper, and they have to walk in them. And I do make boys wear dresses so we can see the high heels. So again, I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but there we go. Am I good on time? Thank you.